Oye, espérate, que he iniciado la transmisión con el estudio puesto. ¡Ah!
Welcome your faces back to another day of the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament. We're into our final 3 days and things are really starting to heat up. My name is Imperium with the ever wonderful, the ever smexy, the ever handsome Zute to take you through all the action.
Thank you, Imperium. I'm glad to be back again today. I mean, we've been day in, day out, and the action has never been disappointing. And let's take a look at the overall ranking. So, wow. I mean, so okay, if you're just tuning in or you missed the last couple of days, let me tell you, France did have like a 140-point lead, 150-point lead at one point.
Ernie.
And I was saying, okay, I don't want to say we because you always had, belief. So I thought there was no way any team was going to catch up to France. But taking a look at Romania, right? It went from 140-point, 150-point difference down to like 70-something. So I don't know, man. Romania has been really popping off the last 2 days.
Yeah, for sure. The door very much wide open across the board between France and Romania. Can't fault France on how good of a lead they've held on to. I believe outside of the first 3 days, they've literally held on to first. And for them to lose it in the final hurdle would certainly be devastating for them, right? And it would be a bit of a kick in the face. But at the end of the day, if you're not, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? So France need to continue the pace, continue the job that they need to do to hold on to first, while Romania and I am definitely thinking Germany. It's out of their hands, I feel. You're talking, well, actually, no, that would be kind of hypocritical if I said it was out of their hands because, look at what Romania did across the last 2 days, but then we would be leading into the final day, and then, there's a lot of questions. But until then, let's move down towards the overall standings as well, and kind of highlight Italy and their kind of continuation of trying to hold on to the top 4. They've allowed themselves to fall down, I believe, like 80 points behind Germany. Again, it's a bit of a shame because we saw what they were able to do in the first 2.5 weeks, and to see this kind of, downfall in the last 2 days, it's a bit sad, man.
Yeah, they were at one point, really fighting for third and potentially second. And now they've just been floundering the last couple of days, not having any really successful days whatsoever. And looking further down, I mean, we have Nordic, right? The Nordic countries. They've been kind of around the 5th place spot for a while.
They have.
Pretty far ahead of 6th, a little bit behind 4th. I think for them, they're probably going to end up staying around that area. But I do want to see them try and, catch up. Like, try and go hard. Try and go big, right? Like, it's always, good to see those teams, try and step it up, even if the goal is a little bit out of reach at this point.
Yeah, it's a... Okay. The points difference is low-key there because, again, each community has 2 teams, so technically it means you're able to create that cushion a little bit more effectively. However, that means it can happen the other way around. So I want to see more challenges because I don't want to see it just come down to the top 2, right? I don't want to see it just be the kind of solidified 3rd, 4th, 5th. I want to see every single team in some way, shape, or form. Hey, it's not over till it's over. We're going to fight till the bitter end. Moving, though, on to a little bit of a more important topic, Zute. The groups that are participating today. So Group A, Group B, Group D, Group E. That means Group C are not playing today.
Group C, the teams that are not playing today would be Chasmok, Showdown Gaming, Big, and 4 Romanian men. Like, these 2 teams... or these 3 teams, Chasmok, Big, and 4 Romanian men, they have had insurmountable days the last 2 days. All 3 of those teams have absolutely just completely popped off.
Yeah.
And not being able to see them today, the pacing of the lobby is going to be a little bit different, I feel like. And potentially one of the other superstars teams, hopefully this will be their time to really, capture the spotlight and run it run the whole day with it. Or potentially, we might see teams like Greek Army or the 100 really step up today with these bigger people or bigger teams sitting out, and they could take the day away also.
Yeah, for sure. We need to see the 100, in my opinion, kind of to an extent, step up, because UK were in 6th. Czech Republic / Slovakia had a bit of a positive day yesterday, and they jumped up to 6th. So UK has it in their hands to at least get into 6th. I was talking a little bit of maybe even them fighting the Nordic countries for 5th, but I don't know if that's going to be possible, especially as they only have one team representative in today's 4 games. We'll have to wait and see. We're moving on to the first map of the day, the first game of the day. We know by now, it's the Hollow Grounds of Erangel. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too, man.
Yeah, so quick correction. When I said Showdown Gaming, they used to be Showdown, but they are now known as the Real Tiger 9 team representing the UK region. Right, so we're on to the first game. A very perfect plane path. Diagonal, like the way you like it, Imperium. I remember you saying you don't like straight line plane paths.
I don't.
Diagonal. Yeah, diagonals are the best one for all the teams, and this one's straight in the middle, diagonal. So I don't think we'll see anything interesting or like hot drops wise for the beginning of this one.
You know what I'd love for PUBG Mobile to introduce?
I'm listening.
Squiggly lines plane path, like, you know, plane paths like plane paths that kind of like, you know, zigzagged in some way, shape, or form, right? I know technically that would defeat the purpose, and it probably would allow teams to land absolutely anywhere on the map. But if they maybe change it so you could only drop down a certain distance, I don't know, but I know, because I feel like, no, it's not as realistic. Planes don't go in diagonal lines like this. They do swirl around a bit. Okay, I'll shut up. I'll shut up now, man.
Better yet, the plane, you know, flies in to like half of the map, and then it just U-turns and flies the other way back to where.
Oh my god, that would be so toxic. Okay, that would be so toxic.
Yeah, speaking of toxic, this circle can get a little bit toxic, as, you know, it's a 60-40 on military. Most likely it won't go on military, but it can get even more toxic if it goes towards ferry pier or go towards the bridge, keeping the water in consistently throughout the rest of the match.
Lemniscate going to Pachinki, I find quite interesting, because as there's no real Tiger 9 and that plane path is so diagonal, there was no guarantee, unless Lemniscate wanted players, the IGL, happened to maybe ask Mega Power if they were going to drop in Pachinki before the broadcast. That's perfectly viable to do. But if they didn't, I think there was a bit of risk there for Lemniscate. I'm glad that it's paid off, but, you know, as someone who doesn't know if Mega Power told them that they weren't going to drop in Pachinki, I look at that as a bit of a risk, because Mega Power could easily have dropped there.
I agree. Mega Power, we have seen them drop here before, especially with that type of plane path. They sometimes drop here knowing that Real Tiger 9's not in here, so it's a little bit risky, but we've seen time and time again, they actually really prefer Novo, and they want to develop their strategy and rotate from Novo even further.
Yes.
Even if Pachinki is a closer drop, they will stretch towards Novo and continue that strategy of theirs. So I like that commitment, right? It shows that they're not just going to Novo because it's their secondary, but it's because it's mainly their primary drop for Erangel.
Yeah, well pointed out. Indeed, that seems to be the case for Mega Power, and it also allows Bravus to have a little bit of a cleaner loot spread on that kind of coastal line position, because he saw a good few games in the first couple of weeks of the PMECT where Lemniscate and Bravus would have a little bit of a crossfight on towards that split drop in the mainland of Erangel. So yeah, it's good to see a bit of a positive domino effect, I suppose, where teams are able to cleanly loot up. Then we'll see how they rotate in towards the circle. With this phase 1 circle, what core areas of the map are you looking at teams to maybe position themselves within the end of the circle, whether it's in the early parts of the blue zone or the late parts of the blue zone?
Oh, so one very strong position that's well, given it's the very first circle, we always kind of just have to focus more on what's center, right? Power positions don't really come into play until the circle
Yes.
gets a little bit smaller because who knows where it could go. So we'll stick with the power positions that are more central. One really big one is, of course, the newer added addition of those bunker dip areas, right? Just north of Ferry Pier, there's that area with you'll see right there on your mini map, right north of Ferry Pier. There's the new
Yeah.
bunkers. It dips in. It's the newer addition. And to the east of that, of course, it's the hilltop, and then the square compound right next to that hilltop, all around the center of the map. Those three positions are all very strong, and they have all very good options to rotate out of and control a lot of different sight lines to gain more info for future rotations if the circles were to shift away from that.
Yeah, can't argue with that one. Naturally, I look at the western side of the map as being a little bit of a safer part of the circle to hold on to right now, or at least avoid early game action. So La Familia looting up Quarry Hill. You have the kind of hill that's north of Quarry right now, which I think is pretty good. Obviously, you're not getting a massive amount of information based on where teams will rotate from the eastern side. But again, if you're looking as a team to have a little bit of a more passive, less risky early game, having that kind of western side of the circle under your control could be a positive thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that one. Taking a look at the rest of the map right now, yeah, this is a very slow start for Erangel, the plane path, allowing for all the teams to drop where they want to. They're taking their time to loot. And given the first circle, I would kind of expect faster rotations because there's so much of the water in play, and those three areas that we named out can be very crucial throughout even the late game or early stages of the game. But it seems like teams have decided to slow down the pace. Actually, thinking back to the last couple of days, if teams aren't fighting, they're usually just taking their time on their rotations. So we're seeing a shift towards more like a circle 3 priority where they'll take certain positions on the map. I remember like first couple of days, actually, the first week even, we saw a lot of early rotations, right? And over time, it slowly started to slow down as far as how fast they want to go for a center spot in the first circle.
And that's where I think this kind of early game situation massively complements a team who are finely tuned in to how other teams around them rotate, where they rotate through, and what kind of timing in terms of the rotations. Because of that diagonal plane path and teams able to go essentially where they want or to their normal loot spots, you don't really have a cluster of teams on one side of the circle. Yeah, okay, I highlighted the eastern side is technically heavier with teams, but it's a sprawling spread, right? So if you as a team, as an IGL, know from plenty of other from experience with the teams in the past, are able to say, hey, we know that this team is going to rotate through here. It allows you to counter them a little bit more heavily, play around them a little bit more effectively, and hey, even pick up a bit of a surprise knock here or there.
Morphe Boy with the SLR. Ooh, that's going to be one headshot right there. DeVito actually doesn't peek out any further to challenge that. That's pretty smart. I love seeing the more use of the SLRs and minis too. I do think they deserve a buff though. They're still a little bit too difficult to use compared to how easy it is to just, single tap with the M16 or single tap with the M4. I would like to see a slight buff to those DMRs as far as like recoil goes. Maybe lessen the recoil a little bit, or increase the damage slightly. But I think lessening the recoil is more effective. The damage is already high, and we're seeing some teams here, Eastern Stars, starting off with only a 3-man.
But then, if you lower the recoil on the DMR, you're basically making it an AR, right? It's a single tap AR. To me, the skill cap of a DMR is the ability to control the recoil and provide a fast fire rate. You know, so if you're talking about a buff, which I do generally agree with, I think a damage buff to make it so that you are rewarded for that skill comparative to an AR. At least that's in my opinion.
I see. It's tricky though, because right now with the damage buff, I'm thinking in terms of practicality, like the actual use case in a competitive match. You know, if the SLR gets a damage buff, how much of a damage buff would it actually impact the difference of the gun? So, for example, it's already like a 2-shot to the head. You can't buff it up to a 1-shot, right? Because then it'd be like a bolt action. And even if you buff up the damage a bit, it still might end up just taking 2 shots to the head, 5 shots to the body, or maybe it changes from 5 shots to the body to 4 shots to the body, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not you'll never be able to hit 4 shots onto someone's body like full HP. They'll get behind cover.
See, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of want to disagree because it's not being used, because the DMRs aren't. And I know we're kind of going really heavily off the fact that the game is playing out, so, we'll get back to it.
The circle did have a really cool shift. That's about it. Like, we'll see how these teams adjust to it.
Exactly. But it's like, a big reason why players aren't technically able to do that is because it's not really within the meta, right? And it's not really within practice. Players couldn't spray with DP28s until they started becoming more within the meta. Therefore, more players use it. Therefore, it's more common. You get used to it, etc., etc. It took time for the DP28 didn't really come out of nowhere, right? It did take time for it to develop and shape itself within the meta. So I kind of disagree with the whole you can't get 4 clean shots off of the DMR. You can if you train that recoil to the point where you're able to fast fire tap that bad boy and you're connecting the shots.
It'd be extremely difficult to do. But let's see what else is difficult here as the next circle is about to shift on up. So the second circle shift was a hard one, all right? A hard shift to the east and a lot of water in play. But teams are getting really comfortable with these type of shifts now. You see, we haven't lost a single player really in the lobby. We still have 63 alive, even with such a hard shift on the second circle. But the third circle is where things are going to get really tricky as Mega Power edging in from the northeast, getting into a potential fight with the 100, but the 100 actually gets the opening as Mega Power is having some issues breaking into this zone.
Yeah, so it seemed to be that Mega Power thought that, okay, we're towards the tail end of phase 2. We dropped a Novo. We're going to go for a little bit of an not an unorthodox shift, but a longer, shift up towards the northeast. They didn't necessarily need. They wouldn't have been able to fully predict that a team was going to be there. But when you leave it later in the circle to really try and push in, a team is more likely going to be there first. Therefore, they're ready for a fight first, and you're going to get caught out. I think that's just what happened with Mega Power.
Let's talk about that circle shift that just came on screen, though. A hard shift to the southwest this time, and the 3 locations I brought up at the very beginning of the game, or those 3 locations are probably going to be teams that, if they're able to hold it down, they're going to make it into the top 5. Like, I wouldn't say almost guaranteed, but if the 3 teams holding those positions are really experienced teams that are, really know how to play the late game, I would say they would pretty much have gotten a top 5 guarantee at this point. But we'll see how the teams do decide to play those 3 spots, as one of them still not occupied yet. The building compounds of the square compound area, you'll see as Golden drives by it, I think one of the teams will have taken that spot.
I think 7-Up, as far as I know. I think 7-Up have control of it. And I look at this rotation from Golden Esports and go, that's too late into the shift. That's too deep. You could very heavily pay the price. I know within that hillside there can be temporary smaller pockets that you're able to hold on to, but all it takes is that one knock.
Yep.
And a team is gonna push in, and yeah, we're seeing it right now as Evil Boy is able to secure the first knock, looking to confirm that kill. The rest of Golden Esports recognize that it's not worth them really pushing too heavily to get the revive or the counter engagement, and they're going to go deeper towards the western edge of that hillside. So yeah, predictable stuff.
Yeah, so those that new bunker area is one of the spots I was talking about where I like to see teams prioritize, as Red Moon Coco peeking up a little bit too hard. Yeah, you're on top of a rock with no supporting fire, no distractions, and you just fire some shots off. I don't think that was the right move, as Coco will get knocked and thirsted. And Game Lords coming in strong here, crashing onto Red Moon. They want to take this fight. They're feeling confident.
They are. They're sole French representatives in today's games, and they saw Romania were able to do in yesterday's 4 games, and now they're hunting. They do have one player knocked, but at the end of the day, Redex is the last player left alive. He's going to swing in with the DP28, get to knock onto Akashi. But how much damage can he do? No more, as a nade from Game Lord. Robs finishes off Red Moon.
Beautiful grenade right there. I love seeing Game Lords play aggressive and lose players in terms of getting knocked, but then being able to get the full reset. That just shows really good teamwork and synergy. 7UP holding down this compound, you called it, and they take out the 100 and circle shifts further south. We're going towards the Ferry Pier area. And La Familia getting a nice circle here, but beautiful shots by Eastern Stars. Eastern Stars only a 3-man team for the start of this first match. Will they play this aggressively as if they were like a 4-man team? That's yet to be seen. It looks like they're trying to posture around, maybe get a second opening. Athos is pushing up closer. 2 people covering Athos right now. It could work out.
Athos, you're going massively deep. Nade's been thrown out by Evil Boy. Overcooked? Gordon Ramsay wouldn't be too happy with that nade. Another one. We'll see Athos knocked down. Just not even surprised with that. Eastern Stars realistically pulled off what Golden Esports tried to pull off earlier, right? And again, just predictable stuff. Yeah, okay, getting an opening knock onto a La Familia player technically made that a little bit more possible. But again, when you start the game as a 3-person team, it just makes that a little bit more challenging, and now they're down to a duo.
Yeah, if they were a 4-man team, it would have been a 2-man push with 2 covering, maybe 1-person push with 1 pushing into an off angle to put up that pressure. With a 4-man team has so much more dynamic use case when it comes to playing aggressive. There's so many different formations you could do, but when you're down to 3, you're so limited in your options that it makes it's so easy for the defensive team to kind of see what you're trying to do and just counter it perfectly. Looking into Ferry Pier, Glor has decided to smash into Ferry Pier and take this compound. This compound yesterday was the compound that I think got the chicken dinner for the team that played a similar circle.
4 Romanian men. It was 4 Romanian men. Yeah, when it shifted down on towards that south side. Uncanny. Find themselves going down south in the form of a Game Lord engagement. You called it, you love to see it. That aggression coming out from the French side is genuinely a pleasure to watch. It's not over yet for Uncanny. 3 players disengaged, but they're on the side of the hill. There's a little bit of a team to the north of them. The former Rexpect and Game Lord, they're going to be hunting, driving around, going for the bait play. Robs doing a wonderful job of pulling out that kind of Chinese meta of driving around in the buggy to try and bait one of the Uncanny players out. Lovely angle play as well by Game Lord, as they do send a bit of an anchor player into the very western edge of the circle, get the information, get the confirmation that, hey, this is free, and now the rest of the team are sending it in.
Yeah, very nice adjustment there. They try to get further openings on Uncanny with the previous angle they were using. Couldn't find any, so they're going to navigate a little bit off to a different position. But you see here, they're not letting up this fight. They want to keep punishing the Uncanny because they know they got a knock and thirst on one of them, and they're very comfortable taking a 4v3 situation. They just need to set up and figure out the best way to go about it.
simple things such as Akashi taking a little bit of damage, I think encouraged the rest of the team to support him in that angle, and now they're going for the push. Hidakori can really do nothing in that moment, trying to use the rock as a bit of cover, but he is going to get knocked by Victor. Joker scales back. He's going to be walking right into the hands of Rexpect, and I believe it was Spicy that finished off Uncanny. Just clean, simple, what we know, what we love about Game Lord.
Ooh, Game Lord looking so clean right now. Circle has shifted down to the southeast, by the way. We're going straight into the heart of Fairy Pier.
Damn.
It's going to get extremely messy, this game ending right here. You see the circle. Some of the water's still in zone 2. And La Familia,
oh my God,
down to 2. Clay gets that first aid off. I think they're going to be able to get that full reset, as most of their knock players are all safe with inside the building.
is that actually towards the pier area? No, not quite. It's offside, but there is a tiny bit of an island in play. I just want to point that out there. If you wanted to be big brain on the north side, or you know, kind of northeast or northwest, I'm looking at Bravos and I'm thinking for them, just to send it into the water and go into the small island, they call that a potential, not necessarily game-winning position, but at least top 3.
I agree. This should be a top 3 if they were to take that location there. As La Familia trying to hold down the line, hold down the defense against none other than Game Lord. Game Lord busting in right now, already at 8 eliminations, and they're going to keep continuing to edge in and take the fights with the teams on the edge and pick up those elim points. They know they can't just rotate and drive by all of these teams, or they'll just start losing players one by one. So instead, they're going to work on their teamwork and work on their gunfighting. The grenades are super deadly, though, as they do lose one more player. La Familia, I do believe, just down to 1. Victor goes down to the side of... I believe that was the team of LMB across the road.
Yeah.
Robs is going to try and take advantage of this. He's going to press onto the team of La Familia. La Familia just down to 1. The jiggles back and forth. Robs able to find him right there, and Robs will get the confirmation and will get that team wipe. Game Lords down to 2, but with 12 eliminations.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that can happen in the late stages of the game, especially on Ferry Pier. But if you notice, the second they got kind of third party from that, from I think it was like a southern side, they instantly made sure that like Robs is like, I'm going nowhere near that side. I'm taking the engagement from the north side so that I don't get third partied. Clean, simple, reactive. What's led Game Lord to getting the 12 points. The next circle has gone back up north. Unfortunately, that small island that I called him, which, credit to Golden Esports, they did go there as a duo. It's not inside, but hopefully it's going to be out of sight, out of mind.
Golden Faria taking some really long range shots. The M4 connecting, but not connecting enough. So Golden, with this zone, are they going to be able to cross it and just swim across safely and get into the next zone? Or given the fact that this is such a small zone, they might just end up running into another team that might want to fight them.
They were stupid. Okay, sorry. Okay, let me rephrase that. It was very silly for them to take shots at LMV if they need to move over. The reason why they've been taken out is because they took shots at the LMV. That meant LMV were going to be looking in their direction. If they hadn't taken shots, they probably would have crossed over safely.
Yeah. Taking shots sometimes. You gotta factor in how many teammates you got left. If it's just you and another teammate, sometimes you want to give up that 1 elim point, even if you're for sure able to guarantee it, simply because with the zone, with how many teams are left in the lobby, you might be able to get more points just by staying low and staying quiet and getting them through placement instead.
There's no big, but LMV are certainly looking to go big in this game. 6 eliminations so far. They've been in this Ferry Pier position for quite a while. I think since phase 2 or phase 3. They've carved their way in towards an entry point of the circle. Game Lord have gone down, but it has been, of course, an absolutely wonderful game for them with the amount of eliminations. We'll be able to see later on when we get to the match rankings. Down goes Bravos. The hands of Greek Army. Who else but Greek Army? A team that have made a big name for themselves as being able to put them in from the edge, take control, take over, and we saw them get rewarded with a chicken dinner yesterday. Will we be looking at another one for the Greek community?
Maybe. We'll see where this circle goes. 7-Up still has 4 members alive, though. So 7-Up could also take this one. Same with LMV. The circle, if the circle goes more center, I think it works fine for LMV. They have some of that high ground to work with to, push on down from. Plus, they have the smokes. Whereas with 7-Up, if they don't get the zone, I feel like they have nowhere to really cross and no real play options.
It's really interesting. It's 4v4v4, v3v1. It's not too common in the very late stages of the game that we see kind of 2 to 3 full teams.
Definitely not. And given the circles, there were some pretty crazy rotations that needed to be made as well. So if you're keeping 4 up, like, kudos to you. But also kind of go back in the footage and watch, did you actually do something different? Or how did you get those extra viewers?
Figos nearly gets knocked. Greek Army Insania is put down to his knees, but it is traded. I believe it was Perks that went down for LMV. I like that 2-2 split from LMV, but I would possibly nearly say 3-1 would have been a little bit more ideal, considering the circle number that we are in, which is, of course, Phase 7. Lemniscate using a sniper tower. They have 7-Up. Of course, looking to encroach on their space. Sound the first one to push in, which I don't mind, but it can't be instantly followed. Are you asking to be blown up one by one? It isn't the way to go. If you're going to send one player in as a little bit of a teaser, yeah, but send the full squad in later on. That was so silly from 7-Up. And now his third knock comes through. Sharky's left on his own. Talk about easy kills for Lemniscate.
No, man, that full send, respectable. Get
out of it.
They came up with the plan and they went for it. It was not the best. Of course, it was not the best, but they did something. They tried to do something decisive. Now, hopefully, they could go back and VOD review footage and maybe talk about it amongst one another and talk about a different plan that might have worked out better. But they're still sticking to what they know. Right, and one thing that we do know that they know is playing aggressive, because we've seen this team play aggressive before, and it was impressive to say the least.
Times I think you're too nice, Ute, but that's part of the reason why we love you. World of PUBG Mobile. The game continues on. Phase 7 going to be closing into Phase 8. Perks gets knocked once again. Greek Army, they may be down to a couple of players, but they're looking for this fight onto LMV. A third player goes down. I believe that's just Japan left on their own. Don't know what has happened exactly, but with the Mini 14 and the kill feed, that's going to be Greek Army being put down to, I believe, 1. Starkey stepped up with the M249. 2 separate fights going on right in front of our eyes.
Oh, he's
the throwaway play.
Retard?
It's going to be the Versace. What? No way. The confirmation comes through. He isn't squad wiped.
What is going on?
Starkey has been able to survive a nade in his direction, puts him down to about 20 health. Versace, what are you doing? As the last player of Lemniscate, you can't let it be thrown so effectively. Japan, like I said, with the Mini 14, gonna find Stybone. I said that she's the last hope for LMV and getting the job done.
Oh, Versace does find it. Lemniscate in the top 3 position. It's a free-for-all. It's a 1v1v1. We had 4 players alive, and all 4 players were representing their own team here. Now, Greek Army versus LMV versus Lemniscate. Who's going to come out top? The circle does favor Greek Army just slightly here, as the other players will have to crawl on in. Japan looks like they're the ones that's going to be targeted to go out next. They do have the smokes, though, but late game smokes with no hard cover, not what you want to hide behind all the time.
3 teams in the top 3. Game 1. Can't argue with that one. Well done to Greek community. But can Japan represent the side of LMV, representing the German community? Can she pull out something massive? It's a chunk of blue zone damage. Has to step up to get out of the blue, but that gives information over to the veto. DeVito yet to pull the trigger. I respect that because he doesn't know where that third player is. I'm pretty sure he knows it's 1v1v1, but he just doesn't know where that third player is. So having a little bit of discipline, tracking where Japan goes, could be the reason why DeVito cleans this game up for Greek Army. Japan gets behind a tree. I think she's fairly sure that there's a player inside that smoke.
Take the shots.
Now just wait. Chucks a nade. Not really sure. I think she's predicting that he's trying to make his way out of the smoke in that direction. And Versace stands up, gets the kill. We're down to a 1v1. It's Greece v Greece, baby. DeVito is able to slam a bit of damage onto Versace. In through the smoke, he finds a kill. He finds the elimination. And that's a Greek Army chicken dinner.
You know what else is a Greek Army chicken dinner? Yesterday's game. That was their very first chicken dinner yesterday. Yes. And just like that, was it the very last? It was the very last game of the day.
It's technically back-to-back. Technically, yeah. It's back-to-back, technically.
Greek Army, like, I would have to say, most improved team out of all the teams we've watched.
Ooh,
granted, they started off very low. They were at one point the lowest point gathering team. They were. And now we've seen them manage to stow, little shines of brightness here and there to just this last week, a bit more consistent to what we just saw yesterday. The last game of the day, they got a chicken. And then starting off today, a chicken dinner. I mean, I said it at the beginning of the show, Imperium, without some of these other three big teams playing, Chasmok, Big, without them playing today, this could be time for like teams like the 100 or Greek Army to really step it up.
Definitely.
And they got a chicken. And what a chicken, by the way. Through the smoke, very nicely done.
And I'll be honest, I'm going to go on a little bit of a ramble here. I had people messaging me with regards to Greek Army playing in this tournament and representing Greece, saying to me that there's better teams that can represent Greece. My answer to them, and my answer is always going to be this: at the end of the day, they were asked to represent Greece. They've done it. Give them time, and I'm really proud to see what this Greek Army team have pulled out. At the end of the day, a big part of it doesn't really matter technically who was picked to represent their community. The format of this tournament is meant to encourage the communities to support each other, right? For the Greek community to come together and support the two Greek representatives. So to have people complain to me and say, they don't deserve to be there, it's like, no, give them time, support them, get behind them, and see what they can pull out. And that's exactly what they're able to pull out. Chicken dinner technically back-to-back, plus Lemnis skate in second. Just a cherry on top. The two Greek teams are first and second.
That's true.
Well done, Greece. Well done to the teams. Community. See what they can do. Continue to support them.
Well, that was a very exciting first match and a very exciting ending as well. But we're going to take it to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the points. And in the meantime, enjoy some of these highlights.
third last day, PMECT, and you know what? I'm kind of hungry, Zute. Are you hungry?
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, I'm quite hungry. Tell me, what's up for lunch or dinner, wherever you might be in the world?
You know what kind of food I'd really enjoy right now?
What is it?
Really love some Greek food. Would you? Would you like some Greek food?
I would love some Greek food right now. And speaking about Greek food, I mean, both Greek teams definitely do be eating after that last match. Okay, Imperium, like, dang, they show up last match.
They really did. They genuinely did. A confident win by Greek Army with 10 elimination points. We'll be showing you the match rankings in a second. 25 in total. Can't argue with it, right? Let's switch over to match rankings as soon as we can. And then Lemniscate, 6 eliminations, second place with 12 points, 18. That's like, what, 43 points in the first game for the two Greek teams. That's really good. Like, that's really good.
43 points in the very first game, and there's still 3 more to go. We were talking about how like 100-point gap is like a lot to cover, but you can see when both community teams pop off together, they could get around like 40 plus points, and that's in one game alone. So really good job by the Greek Army. Of course, got to shout out LMV, the sole representatives today for Germany. Without their brethren team of Big playing to date, that's a really solid first match to keep them up in the running in that upper half of the overall leaderboards. And a curious thing to note is Game Lord, right? 13 eliminations and only 2 points in placement points. That's the definition of just fighting your way in and then having the circle just keep shifting on away.
Just Game Lord doing Game Lord things as well, right? It took team fight after team fight after team fight. I do want to highlight, it was a very good game, and I say this more so in comparison to their recent form from not only Rexpect, but I suppose the whole of the Spanish community. Rexpect with 9 points, Bravas with 7. It's been quite a while, at least in my recollection, in my memory, that we see not only one but both Spanish teams in the first half of the match rankings.
Yeah, and shout out to Bravas. We were seeing them start to pop off a little bit yesterday, a little bit more like consistent too. Yeah, and we were saying like coming into today, Bravas might be another new kind of up and coming team. In terms of, are they actually improved? Are they going to be more consistent now? And with the first game getting 7 points, I think that's actually pretty good for them.
It is. And honestly, with the amount of points as well, when we kind of transfer it a little bit over in terms of the overall standings, Spain are currently in 8th with 391 points. Greece are in 9th with 358. That's roughly 33 points, if I'm not mistaken. Greece in the first game got 43. Luckily for the Spanish community, they got 16 points. So it still keeps them ahead for the time being, but they're going to need to continue that trend. So I'm genuinely happy to see both Rexpect and Bravas in the top half of the standings and with a pretty solid amount of points, and they need to continue that up.
Yeah, it was a very first game overall, just not by the wayside of the performance of certain teams, but I think the circles and the way that first match ended was also really good for these teams to practice, because that was a very specific game ending type of sequence of circle shifts, right? How do you manage a very pure ending? I think for a lot of these teams, they got really good practice in that game, particularly as far as what positions, maybe we should optimize next time when there's a potential fairy pure ending. How do we play it? Which compounds do we smash in? Because we saw some teams hard rotate in for a certain compound to just try and go all in on it too.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of give a little bit of a correction per se, I was speaking to Zans from 7-Up, and that mistake they made was a plan 2-2 push. onto Lemniscate. It just wasn't executed in the right way. And props to him. You know, like you kind of said it right, that they had that plan in motion. It just didn't execute in the right way. And it correlates to what Sam said. So in that regard, hey, well done. Like he said, that they know that it's practice, that it's preparation, and these kind of mistakes are technically a good thing because it allows them to learn for the future.
Yeah, and wow. Is that a perfect back-to-back plane path in map 1 and map 2? I think it is quite perfect. And just to elaborate a little bit more on how perfect it is, it's starting on the northern side, which has a side with more cities to loot too. So if this was flipped around, it would be a little less perfect, but it is actually like the most perfectest of plane path. You have teams that could drop off early now to loot the section of the map, the northern half, where more of the cities are for the loot too.
Could screenshot that plane path, sell as an NFT, make a couple of million. Pretty easy.
Oh,
you know?
Geez. No,
what can I say?
The screenshot that would sell for a couple million is that one time in PMGC, the circle ended east of Impala on that island. And we're talking PMGC circle. All right, that one would be a circle I'd like to, get as a NFT myself. But even though this plane path is so perfect, you already see there's some potential fights happening. We see Red Moon and I believe Eastern Stars might potentially get into a quick little fight there. We see one player of 7UP and V100 doing a split drop, and they've both split dropped at the same compound. So that might be a little bit of a cheeky 1v1 action happening there very soon.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious as to, I'm not going to lie, I forget where Red Moon normally loot, but I do know that Big normally loot where Red Moon are. So I can only presume that Red Moon, looking at Big not being in this lobby, thought, hey, we can go to their kind of split drop spot. And Eastern Stars maybe thought, okay, well, Big aren't in the lobby, therefore we're fine to drop kind of near where Big normally go, get some vehicles, and then drop to Impala. It just seems that obviously those two teams have now gotten pretty close to each other. Starkey, you called it. Dropped in the same compound as one of the 100 players, but what I do like, that there is a little bit of support in the form of IC and Will. Fortunately, there's no real coordination there, and I say the 100 unnecessarily lost some players, you say?
Oh, they lost one player, but they might be losing two more. As the rest of the 7UP team, they are going to commit to some more supporting their player and committing to this fight. I hope they do, because they have the advantage here. They have the outside angles. V100 don't know that the 7UP are here. I want to see them commit to this, but I want to see them be a little bit more proactive. Okay, they are actually. One player is sweeping off to another angle. And V100, that push, that 2v1 push, yeah, that's a mistake. But knocked and thirsted.
Why aren't 7UP sending one of the players up into the very tippity top of the hill? I would look at that as like the perfect spot to go to. Wrap around. That might be the case from the third player from 7UP. Shots are being fired up on towards Daddy as he looks to move a little bit closer to the rest of his team. He's trying to find a bit of a stronger place in which he's going to have a bigger impact on this fight. However, is he swinging around too slowly, too deeply, in which he's not really going to be able to provide that support?
I don't think so. I think this is a decent one. This is a game of chess right now. The team with more mobility will come out on top, but also you got to hit your shots as Daddy IGL with that UMP. We've seen some sick long-range UMP shots the past couple of days, but those were not it. Missing every single shot. And we see multiple engagements coming out. A 1v1 here, a 2v2 for positioning on the outside area. It's really comes down to who's the better player at this point.
Oh, I see ya. This is what I see you saying. Goes for the pre-fire around the corner. Comes out and gets the kill onto zone. On the other side, a second knock in towards the members of the 100. Sorry, in towards 7-Up, should I say, leaves Sans on his own. I feel bad criticizing 7-Up. I genuinely do, because I've seen this team. I've seen this team play together for the most part as the same roster for the guts of 2.5 years, man. And they've shown so many signs at so many times of being that potentially strong performing, successful team, and they've hit wall after wall after wall, genuinely because of their own mistakes at the time. And
Right.
when you're constantly kind of pointing out those criticisms, it hurts, because you're like, okay, are they really improving? Are they really getting better? Do they really have what it takes? And yeah, it's a shame to see as they do go out in this game too early on.
It honestly, from a competitive player standpoint, it honestly does take a lot of time. Breaking
I know.
newer thresholds of, skill level, it's a hard hitting gap. And this might sound very, mean, or what however you want to say it, but the harsh reality of it all is sometimes it's just the team itself. Like, the players just don't synergize. The players just naturally think and react differently. The play styles don't work, right? And that's just the harsh reality of it all.
It is.
I think in esports, that is also why you see, a lot of teams roster shuffle from time to time.
Yeah.
But it does not mean that the players are necessarily bad. I alluded this once before on the broadcast, but I'll say it again. There's a player in China. He goes by Y, like WYY.
Yeah.
He was regarded as one of the top players in the entirety of the scene in PEO in China. And he got put on a team, and he eventually got benched on the team. He became the sub player for the team. And then that same organization ended up selling him off, and he got sold off to a different team. And then with that new team, even though they just newly formed, that roster was consistently, I would say, a top 3 overall Chinese team.
Yeah.
In China. And being top 3 in China, well, I mean, we already see what Nova does globally each year, right? So it does come down to player synergy and player styles too. It's not necessarily this player is bad, we need to switch them out.
I agree.
It just comes down to working together and seeing if you can fit that synergy in together. So looking at the first circle, though, not much to really say. It's a very easy circle, I would say, for a lot of these teams. I think that's actually why we see a lot of teams not rotating in yet. It's just because they're wanting to see where that hard shift is going to go to, which side of the zone are we going to have to play towards. This one right now is very ambiguous, right? You could almost take up any position, not just center, but any position, like maybe 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters around the center, and you could still be fine for the next circle shift.
Yeah, we couldn't agree more. We're seeing teams really taking their time and already moved too far away from their natural drop spots. I'd say the team that's maybe gone a bit deeper is Rexpect. I look at that. And Mega Power, because Mega Power dropping Picado, now they're in Graveyard. However, I think that makes more natural sense, because when you drop in the center of the map and the phase on circle is kind of very central of the map, you kind of do need to move, right? You do need to get away from that sticky position, especially somewhere like Picado that's surrounded by clear mountains and flat terrain. You leave it too late to disengage, you're asking for trouble.
And okay, here we go. Now this is a tricky one, because potential low ground cities of San Martin finish, or do you prioritize that huge giant mountaintop, the high ground around the power grid area? And it's not just the high grounds. There's so many multiple dips and power positions all around power grid as well. So it's between those two areas right now that teams should start focusing on and deciding which one they want to prioritize.
La Familia running through Minas Generalis could get close to Mega Power on Graveyard Hill. Greek Army. starting to rotate and react to this circle. Yeah, I think this phase 2 was a little bit trickier for a good few of the teams than they would like to have seen in the shift. One thing that I kind of made note a little bit from phase 1 and how teams were putting themselves, but they were putting themselves in bad positions. But I would like to see more teams pull off split positions, right? Yeah. I noticed Game Lord had a 2-2 either side of San Martin, so ready to prepare more effectively for phase 2. Whereas not a lot of other teams were doing that. They were kind of very clustered within their own position, and this kind of phase 1 circle, I think, is a little bit more rewarding to a big split. So you get multiple angles of information.
Zenny there, by the way, with a really sick skin. We saw some glowing particles floating from it. I would love to see more guns like this, just because.
Really?
I mean, it might be a little bit distracting.
Isn't that I was just gonna say, wouldn't it distract you as a player?
Hey, I'm a retired competitive player now, man. I'm all here for the show and the bling.
There you go. See, like I said, you're a fully formed caster, man. Welcome to our world, man.
Yeah, whatever looks cool and blinged out. Hey, put more of that on the screen.
Are you not esports entertained, right? You know, anything that can make it as shiny as possible. I like this position from Bravas, by the way. Again, I low key argue that they could have a bit of a heavier spread, but their position on the Picado Hill, I look at as being quite positive.
I will say one thing really quickly, minor detail. I don't like how he's prone on top of that mountaintop.
Oh, that's very fair.
Yeah, like you should always be crouched, and when you think you can laser someone without getting return fired on, then you prone. But staying prone, the second you get shot, it takes so long for you to get up and readjust that you could just get knocked and thirsted because you were just proning around. So just like minor detail right there. But it kind of like low-key triggers me when I see players just staying proned around, because that's when you do get punished for it, you'll feel like an absolute like idiot for being like, why was I prone there? For what reason? Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's well said. It's the little things like that, right? It genuinely is the little things a lot of the time. Those small little corrections can be the difference why you not only end up getting taken out, but your whole team is more heavily exposed if you get taken out, right? So you proning isn't just negative for you, it's negative for your whole team.
Right. And speaking about corrections, a lot of teams got to make some corrections to their positioning now with that hard shift. That is a hard shift to the northeast. I predicted the power grid or like the San Martin area. Well, this hard shift has taken it completely to a whole different another terrain of the map. We do have the low grounds, coming in around the center of the area with some really strong compounds. While Eastern Stars take some shots at La Familia, they're committing a lot to this. Ooh. Yeah, they were committing a lot to that revive, but that revive is not going to even go out. They lose 2 vehicles in the process of that. La Familia, though, does have some good support lines to try and maybe save Clay here.
Yeah, but I look at this as La Familia dropped much closer to Minas Generalis than Eastern Stars, yet both teams are there kind of the same time. If La Familia wanted to go up and towards this mountainside of Minas Generalis, they should have done it in phase 2, not when phase 3 popped up. It's too reactive. And in that time, Eastern Stars had made their way from Impala, which, by the way, it's not like they rotated super early from Impala. They waited until phase 2 popped to start rotating. And they're still able to get close to La Familia. So incredibly slow reactions from La Familia cause them to lose a player.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with that one. 100% there. And also the scouting work. I don't think you should ever really scout with a bus. If you actually, I didn't see the cars they had, but I'd rather them scout with the other vehicle that pulled up than the bus, because that bus just too slow. You saw him try and turn around.
Oh yeah.
Eastern Stars just really blew them up. Game Lords on the southwest side or the west side of the circle, continuing to hold the high ground near San Martin, prioritizing the edge of the map, but not just the edge of the map, but also long sight lines into the center of the map. So they'll have a decent idea of what to do next, where regardless of how the circle shifts. Doing some gatekeeping right here, keeping the Bravas team, who just did have a pretty decent game, looking to take them out a little bit earlier for the game 2 of Miramar.
A task up against and conquering side of the game, Lord. The spread that the French team have, by the way, on that Saint Martin Hill is wonderful. Like, there's no real chance that Bravas are getting through that wall, getting through that spread. Because even if you get one knock, there's so many angles of cover that not only are you more likely going to get counter knocked, but you can't really do much with it. So I would nearly prefer to see Bravas go in towards the blue, but no, Game Lord, they don't even want to give them that chance. They're pushing in. They're going to get the knock and the breaker. Great duo. Pushing out Morphe boys under a hell of a lot of pressure. And yeah, Game Lord just doing Game Lord things.
Oh, but Morphe boy, though, might pop off here. And okay, there we go. 2 of Game Lord players got knocked. It looked a little bit scary there, but I absolutely love that. I don't think, even at the higher levels, I don't feel like we see enough teams do that, where they're gatekeeping a team, yes, and they're forcing that team into a corner, but they don't push. They're like, that's away from the circle.
I agree.
We'll just keep watching them and keeping them pressured and stuck there. When you could just do what Game Lord just did, which is just push them. Leave your side of the circle. It's not like anybody's coming around to your side. You've already been holding it down for so long.
Yeah.
Push away from the zone, kill them, take them out, and then come back and then reassess. So really love that out of Game Lord. And the circle did shift towards the west side, so it will favor Game Lords a little bit. They could keep some of the high ground and play to get info. As for a lot of these other teams on the north and northeast, they're going to have to kind of make a mad dash towards the zone. And there's compounds left that are open, but it's all around the edges of the zone. So it's going to create a big buffer zone for a lot of these teams.
Egg and Power have the golden egg position of the circle. In my eyes, the compound that's a little bit down towards the southwest because it's very flat around them. You have the roadside. You have the opportunity to pick up a good few eliminations. Eastern Stars looking for the same on towards the members of Greek Army. I like that rotation from Greek Army. I think it's pushed enough that they're not really getting massively focused by any of the members of Eastern Stars. However, 2 players did have to disengage. They had to dip away, and Dean, one of them, get knocked by the members of Eastern Stars, and Insania probably gonna follow suit as his vehicle blows up. There's another one in front of him, but that's a juicy nade by Doran to get that second knock.
Greek Army right here, struggling a little bit with these hard shifts. Miramar, of course, is always a much more difficult map as compared to Erangel. La Familia, with 3 people left alive. They do have 1 player that has scouted into the zone, and I think they realize this place is open for now as one of the Greek Army players rushes in. But they should definitely be able to tell it is not a full team defending here, and they could take a 3vX fight and feel comfortable with it because they're not entirely sure how many players are up for a Greek Army.
I think it was LMV pushing on to the 100. I believe so in this fight. I could be wrong. Either way, the result, the 100 down to just a solo player in the being cooked up in towards that building. Japan disengages away. The good thing for LMV is that they have 1 player in the circle as an anchor point. Lisa Figos. So therefore there's less aggression required for the other members of LMV. Knock did come through, but Playzone is going to be claiming Will as a victim in this Miramar game. 12 teams left, 35 players.
Ooh, a shift into no man's land. Okay, there is a few dips here and there. That's about it. Maybe like two dips that I know of, and that in the western side, and then of course the eastern side of the map. I think Eastern Stars is going to fully dominate that eastern side of the new circle shift. We're going to see Eastern Stars most likely probably win this match. I would have to say they'll be able to keep all 4 up as the Greek Army finally goes down. La Familia realizes with that circle shift, all right, we got to clear this team out if we want to move further in.
Yeah, you're dead right. Game Lord, The challenge on the other side. I said Mega Power had the golden egg compound in the previous circle. It seems like the egg is being cracked to make a juicy omelette formed by the Game Lord players. Let's see if they can scramble Mega Power left, right, and center. Maybe even poach him. Seems like they're looking for the crispy fried egg in the bottom, as Lodge is going to go down to a molly. Rex is now the last player up FPP mode. Pre-fires it up, has to try and switch over, but that's not going to be the case. Golden Goose play, Game Lord pick up another set of eliminations.
Game Lord looking good. This time around, they're still doing the same thing, right? They're sticking to the edge of the map and working in, but the circles are a bit more favorable. So we might see them get a lot of eliminations and placement points. So that style of play definitely working out when the zones not even favor them, but just shift in a way where it's not constant hard shifts away. So I want to see Game Lord do well here, utilizing the strategy that they pretty much utilized in game number 1, but just translated it onto the map of Miramar. YMCA down to 1, Ket 2 last alive, and he's only got a shack left to play in.
By the way, like, Game Lord were ridiculously quick to react after that fight against Mega Power. Most teams, when they win an engagement, they'll take a little bit longer to I don't want to say reset, but sorry, to re-engage onto another team, whereas Game Lord were instantly onto the members of YMCA. Good spread by Eastern Stars. Athos is knocked, however the backline support is there. Eel coming through, La Familia down to 1. Dingy, what can he do? And he shut down the Romanian side of Eastern Stars is what is predominantly the strongest position in the circle. But I would argue that Eastern Stars will want to clean up this engagement sooner rather than later. Perfectly executed, though, by Eastern Stars. They finish La Familia off.
Not just La Familia, they get the whole eastern side of the circle within their control now.
Damn.
And with that circle shift, that works out even better for them. I think we're going to see an Eastern Stars versus Game Lord. Wow, beautiful shots. Instant connections, a headshot going out there. It's going to come down to Game Lords versus Eastern Stars. Red Moon, they found their own little pocket deep within the circle earlier, so they might actually cause a little bit of concern right now. But we're down to 4 teams. LMV, Red Moon, Eastern Stars, and Game Lord.
LMV, 19 points in game 1. They've got 3 eliminations into the top 4. That's a minimum of 11 points. That would mean 30 in 2 games if they were to go out right now. The hopes are still alive. Unfortunately, Robs, I predicted the future. He stepped up over the ridge, finds the last player. LMV are out.
I'm kind of worried about Game Lords right here. I feel like Red Moon's position is in a prime position to take down those 2 players of Game Lord, but it's not even going to be Red Moon that does it. It's going to be the Eastern Stars themselves that start taking out the Game Lord players. Eastern Stars, a 2-2 split, a north split, and a south split. Controlling it very well. They got to be careful about Red Moon, though. Red Moon still has 2 up. If they take a straight-up challenge, those 2 players of Eastern Stars could potentially go down.
But if Red Moon push like they need to do, the other 2 players from Eastern Stars are there to support on that 2-2 split. So in my opinion, it's a lot safer than it looks for Eastern Stars. However, I could be proven wrong. Bazzi's knocked. Red Moon possibly going for the push. In this time, Game Lord are going to sniff out a bit of an opportunity to go for the revives. They may have been knocked, but they were not confirmed eliminations by Eastern Stars. Athos does finish one off onto Ukashi. The bleed out comes through. Doran on one side, Athos on the other. Versace does get knocked. It's going to allow this side of Eastern Stars to be given a little bit more heavily sigh of relief. Spicy from Game Lord, looking for some spicy off angles to the members of Eastern Stars. Coco gets spotted out. Eastern Stars waste no time. They take control and we're down to our final 2.
Yeah, but Eastern Stars did lose 1 player when they could have kept 4 up. Now it's a 3v3 situation. Of course, Eastern Stars have the better positioning, and they might actually have a cross angle from the player on the north. Athos could be the one to really break into this fight. You see them have an angle on potentially the low ground. Spicy, though. Spicy. Oh, he's not in the zone yet. He's forced to move out into the open. I can't blame him for that then. Now it's a 3v2, and I think Game Lord is going to be taken out here.
Yeah, at first I thought he was in the circle, and then when I noticed the blue zone was pushing, I was like, yeah, he's not in it. Another knock comes through. Eastern Stars, 10 eliminations, a run over. Narvello's the last player up. It's a little bit risky around the smoke, but Eastern Stars are confident, and Biddy Ba, out they go. Chicken dinner. Eastern Stars.
Eastern Stars. Doran had 7 eliminations by himself, so he really popped off, but two similar playstyles. Eastern Stars controlling the eastern edge, Game Lord controlling the western edge, and you can kind of see throughout that game how this edging strategy works, right? You want to play split, you want to play positions that give you a lot of info, not necessarily, you know, you don't need to just be able to have an advantage position in these fights, but just high ground for the info so you can set up the fights later on to have the advantage when you're pushing into zone. And both teams did that very well. Both teams picked up a lot of eliminations. This time around, the circles just kind of shifted more towards the east each time. And so Eastern Stars, you know, they close it out as they should. Really experienced team. And Game Lord, they fought their way in from the west beautifully well. And I would say they had an amazing game as well.
Yeah, like, was just a well-executed chicken dinner from Eastern Stars. Once again, as it can be the case in a lot of the games, you know, it can be like, oh, well, they had the circle look, etc., etc. Look at the eliminations they got. Without a shadow of a doubt, they were massively proactive from that position. They knew they couldn't take it for granted, right? And they pushed into the more heavier part of the circle, especially in the later phases, to make it so that nobody could really breach in. Plus that 2-2 spread, yeah, they ended up losing a player, but that 2-2 split was just bang on. You couldn't have asked for better. Really, just really well played from Eastern Stars.
Eastern Stars played that really well. Of course, Game Lord, I feel like, also did extremely well controlling their side of the circle. We saw how they used that high ground to not just gatekeep a team, but then also push that team to take them out. Yeah. Right? We had mentioned it during the cast. Like, we see a lot of teams who are good at gatekeeping teams and making sure, you know, they can't move any further. But rarely do we see high-level teams then take the initiative to push away from the zone to take the team out because they're stuck back there, right? So I think that was really well done by Game Lord as well. And, well, really good game for number 2. This time around, we saw 2 top gigantic teams that have been doing really well throughout the tournament take first and second. But we'll go on to Sandhawk, where things will really start changing up, where we will never know what happens. So we're going to go for a quick little break right here. And don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back after these highlights.
Hi there. Thanks for sticking around and tuning in. My name is Imperium. This guy's name is Zute to either my left or right. I don't know. I don't know my direction anymore. You're watching the PMECT. Hi. Anyway, 2 games down, 2 games to go. I don't know why I opened that with a level of child excitement, but passing and being involved in these events is kind of that childlike excitement to an extent. So, yeah. And that last game, it was a pretty damn good ending.
Oh yeah, the first 2 games endings were very different, like opposites, polar opposites of one another, and I think that's one thing I really love about what's happening today and just tournaments in general, right? So game number 1, if you missed it, we had one of the teams that has been struggling throughout the entirety of the tournament secure their first back-to-back chicken dinner from yesterday coming into today. And then in the second game that we just went over, we saw the 2 juggernaut teams that have been dominating the whole entire tournament long come down to a first and second finish. It was Eastern Stars and Game Lord. You see it here. And Eastern Stars, by the way, even though they did not get the chicken, they come out 1 point ahead. Oh no, they did get the chicken. I'm sorry, I misread that. They got the chicken dinner and come out only 1 point ahead of Game Lord, because Game Lord, they had to fight their way in from their edge side of the circle, and they picked up 14 eliminations.
That's like 27 eliminations. 27 eliminations alone in 2 games. As a player, I'd be happy to get 27 points in total in 2 games. Never mind eliminations alone. So madness. And more importantly, I suppose, to kind of correlate to the overall rankings as well, France have gotten 41 points in the first 2 games. I say France, but it's just Game Lord. Same with Romania. Eastern Stars, 29 points in 2 games. So still Game Lord have gotten more points for the French community in the first 2 games. So great win by Eastern Stars, but they need to keep it up. Game Lord certainly are keeping it up.
Game Lord just doing really well both games right now. And Red Moon, out of the Italian side, it's a sign of life. I think we need a little bit more based on what we have seen them do previous, right? We know they could play even better, right? They've had like 2, maybe almost 3 days of just kind of a dry spell. And Red Moon, at least this is a decent one. They pick up 13 points. But La Familia, still not yet there yet. Struggling with, a 5-point game.
I definitely sympathize. I'm used to dry spells. LMV also have had a couple of very good games to begin with. They got 19 points in game 1. They got 11 points in game 2. That's 30 in total. It's really not to be sniffed at, and especially as the kind of the secondary German team, to be fair, and the sole German representatives in today's games, they're really helping to keep Germany in some way in the race for the top 3. In some way, I know there's still a long way to go, and unfortunately, they can't control France and Romania doing well, but they are doing a great job within their control to keep Germany in it. I
agree. And we were just talking about Bravis and Respect from game number 1, how they're doing pretty good for their region, representing, their community, so to say. And then in game 2, both teams coming in with 0 points, 15th and 16th finish. So a little bit of hot and cold there out of those 2 teams. But same with Lemniscate and Greek Army, right? Game number 1, Greek Army came out with a chicken, and Lemniscate finished 3rd overall.
Yeah.
And then game 2, Lemniscate with only 4 points, Greek Army with only 1.
I know.
It's just the nature of the game. It's you could be doing really well in one map, and then the next game it could go complete opposite. And speaking about complete opposite, we're about to head into Sandhawk, right? Which is going to be another huge doozy of a game for a lot of these players.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to the madness that's going to ensue. One thing we've seen as a trend across the first couple of games has been some very good initial playing paths. I know it's less important in Sandhawk, but I did want to at least point it out. However, I do want to see a nice circle for these teams in terms of just prioritizing that main line, because I do think yesterday's Sandhawk game, the circles were painful because it really encapsulated right up until the very end, realistically, both the mainland and the Southwest Island. So I want to see the teams and the players have a little bit of a break today.
Playing path very far to the north, as teams will have to stretch down to the south a little bit. We've seen teams get so comfortable on Sandhawk with each other's drops that they've started to split up a lot and start the game very widespread, which has led to some earlier fights, not necessarily a hot drop fight, but we could see some potential altercations. Looking down towards the southwest, Uncanny and Rexpect looks like they're kind of trying to go towards the same drop location. We might see a fight happen there, and we get the first circle, a very northern, northwest-ish a little bit circle. This one a little bit tricky to work with.
I say kind of trickier than yesterday's initial circles, and if it kind of, you know, shifts in the same ways in which yesterday's Sandhawk circles went, that kind of divide between the Northwest Island and the mainland is a lot bigger than the Southwest Island and the mainland, if that makes sense. So kind of crossing that later in the game is going to be a lot more difficult. So I don't expect too many teams to be really committing to that Northwest Island. I expect to see a lot of the mainland clearly encapsulated. But that in itself, right, poses more risks because technically there's a lot less landmass in that mainland. And if you have more teams trying to stay in that mainland, you're going to see a few more early game fights.
And here's that early fighting that I mentioned because teams are so split. You see here, this golden player literally looted what was necessary to take out a player and then quickly ran over here to see if he could spot anyone. Actually, he saw Spicy at the very last second. He's going to try and hunt down that player right now. And this is what happens when teams are so familiar with one another. They're going to do like some of their own plays to take out each other early on and get some cheeky eliminations, but Varia just missing that opportunity a second too late.
Let me remind you, what happened the last time Golden Esports engaged onto Game Lord?
Golden Esports onto Game Lord. Wasn't it just Sandhawk? Just yesterday?
Yeah. Yesterday's Sandhawk game. Yeah, yesterday's Sandhawk game.
Yeah, they had an engagement at that compound.
Yeah.
And it was I think one player managed to pull off almost a 1v4.
Actually.
Yeah.
They will fire Golden and you potentially get burned, right? That's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Well, this time around, the circle shifted in a way where, well, taking a look at the split though out of Game Lord, it's like that is a split, if I do say so myself, stretching all the way from the Hot 10 northern side all the way down to almost the boot camp side. That is a big 1-1-1-1 split.
What? That split is kind of madness.
That's what it is. It's spicy.
Kind of madness.
Yeah, well, I don't think they intend to hold that split. Spicy was actually just looting up those buildings real quick before rotating and moving on out. And I think he's aware, you know, the only teams that would really push him would come from boot camp, and boot camp has a lot of loot. So that team's going to rotate out a little bit slower and not like they're going to hard press him too quickly, too early on. So he takes that extra little bit of time to get some loot in. Spicy taking some shots at the 100. That's making a fast rotation on a buggy. That is a very cool rotation to make right there. Going more towards center of the circle, using a nice pathing with the buggy to interject themselves right there onto the map.
Greek Army. And you, once again, pull out a good performance. I'd like to see it happen. Mega Power, what he needs to see himself do is get caught out. I get that there's an element of snaking involved, but I'm left wondering. I know it's only 5 minutes, but I'm left wondering, How did Mega Power not see any of the bravest players rock up the hill from boot camp?
Oh, definitely a mistake, a slip up there. Maybe their fourth player that's not playing right now in this match was you typically the one that does that role. So maybe without that player being here, they don't do it correctly. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. But otherwise, it's still a mistake at the end of the day right there. Starting as a 3-man, going down to 2, you definitely do not want that on Sandhawk.
Lemon Skate, the second Greek representatives. He then pull out another good performance in this game, Lord. We talked about the spread. And they spread some nice, sweet honey all over this Sandhawk game. Because honey goes well with chicken. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but honey with chicken is pretty nice.
Honey with... I've had baked chicken with honey.
Okay.
Like a baked chicken with a honey glaze on it. I've also had fried Korean chicken with a honey. Yeah.
Honey and sesame seed?
Yes, I think that's what it was. Yeah. But you know what the best sauce to go, or the dressing to go with chicken is?
What?
I had something, but
oh man, did you choke the pun? Did you choke the pun?
There wasn't actually a pun. I just tried to elude it. The best chicken to have is a winner chicken dinner. That's the best chicken there
I'm
is.
sorry, man. I'm not letting you get away with that. Nah, man. You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. You know, retake those comedic classes. It's fun. You'll get there, man. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what I am good at? I'm good at looking at these circles and saying stuff about these circles. So with this circle, well, it doesn't really shift anywhere, which is actually quite bad for a lot of these teams because we get a lot of the river still in play. Most of these teams won't need to move around, but that just means future circles will get very tricky and dicey. As YMCA, they open up a knock and a thirst onto two of the Game Lord players, or is it just one?
No, just one.
Of the Game Lord. Okay. So one of the Game Lord players goes down, trying to hold that split that they usually always hold around this area. Don't know what went wrong this time around as they lose one player very early on.
Yeah, and I kind of put it down to just being a little bit caught napping / maybe not expecting a player to be there. Because he's pretty deep into this phase 2, especially on his own. I don't know who exactly got the eliminations onto the first 2 YMCA players, but yeah, good solo play. La Familia fighting in the blue with Respect. Honestly, I'm not like a fan of this. I know it's only phase 2, but 2 teams fighting in the blue like that, it's a little bit amateurish. I don't know if you agree with me, but you know, who's really winning out of this one, right? Who's really winning?
I think both of these teams' goals were to just med strat, right? They're so far down in the south, and there's a lot of loot to be had this far down in the south. So I think both teams want to do a med strat focused game for Sandhawk, but they just so happen, you know, both pick the same area to try and get the loot, and now they're forced to fight each other. One thing I don't like though is Respect has the advantage. And maybe, you know, they're playing it a little bit more careful because they don't want to mess anything up. But I feel like they should be slightly more proactive here in trying to finish out the La Familia team.
Yeah, I don't disagree, because the longer they take, the more unnecessary utility they're using. It's a good wraparound from BK. I've observed the amount of heals that all the players from Respect have, and none of them have heal strat level of meds, right? Maybe if they pool it all together, they might. PK reacts very well to get the knock into wasted, prone in the grass. Clay now left on his own. Gonna have to be a prone from Clay. Where's the rest of Respect? They actually get knocked. They get killed. I don't know exactly what happened. Maybe I should have been more observant. La Familia, Clay specifically, not quite a 1v3, but it was a clutch.
No, Clay did 1v3. There was 3 up from Respect.
Wait,
when they got
yeah, but was there 3 up from Respect when Wasted got knocked?
yeah, I'm pretty.
See,
I'm
that's the
pretty
thing.
Sure.
I didn't want to say it was a 1v3 unless I factually had that information. So
I don't think Wasted knocked anyone. He just
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he was still alive when Clay got the first knock. It's still not a 1v3 in my opinion because he was involved in the fight. He was still involved in that engagement.
Fair enough. LMV right now taking a fight with Lemniscate, and Martin with a nice sidestep from behind the rocks. We'll take him out. LMV 2v2 Lemniscate with the lower ground position, but no real side really has the advantage here as both players taking their ones. We see Perks taking a 1v1 here, peeking from that left-hand side.
Yeah.
Well, he
go
had
to the left?
He kind of had to because the other Lemniscate player was on the right-hand side, and they both win their ones. Lemniscate will be able to get somewhat of a reset there and some points and loot to their name for winning that engagement.
Okay. I call that kind of stubbornness from Perks. He's always been a player to be very, very aggressive and to kind of go in on his own. Now, he improved a lot over the last year and a half, 110%. But I see that kind of shade of stubbornness of wanting to go in. In my opinion, if you can't go in on the right-hand side like that, then don't go in at all. Wait to communicate with your teammates so the distraction plays through, and then you go in on the right-hand side. That's maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, but that's the way I looked at it. It was a clean 2-2. It didn't need to be that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in the heat of the moment, it could have easily gone either which way this time around. It just the shots did not connect, right? So in those heated gunfight moments, I think it's more crucial for the players themselves to realize millisecond by millisecond, what was going through their brain. Did they have full control of what they were trying to do, or were they playing a little bit off reaction and a little bit, on autopilot during those pushes?
Yeah.
As V100 holding a defensive position now against Golden. Golden looking to make some grounds here. As this next circle did shift out, we are going to end on the eastern island. The northwestern island no longer pretty much in play. So the 100 holding a nice split here, trying to keep the Golden side a little bit further back away from where they would like.
I think the teams, or the remaining 14 teams, will be relatively happy with that Phase 3 shift. Confidently on the mainland allows you to focus in a much better manner on getting a good position inside this next circle. 100 trying to breach in towards Painan or the outskirts of it. A lovely nade by Farron. Get the double knock. It was a double knock, followed by a third on towards one of the other players from the 100. Leaves Daddy on his own. The 1v4. Hooks up a nade, a pre-nade through as the pushes coming right up. I love the fact that Golden Esports is keeping one player on the high ground of Painan to try and provide that level of support. Daddy gets one knock, but the teamwork is there. The body advantage pays off in the 100. They're out of here.
That was a really nice spread split by Golden on the initial engagement. I love the amount of angles they had and just the flexibility of using those different angles throughout the fight. I was a very experienced, mature fight out of Golden.
It was
a lot of setup, not just so much brute force, and a lot of strategy coming into play. As Greek Army pushing on in, they take down a player of Mega Power. Mega Power just down to 1. I don't think Mega Baby should take any shots here, as even if he gets a knock, it cannot be confirmed.
Mega Baby sounds like a really bad name for an animated film about a Mega Baby, or maybe it's a really poor name of a villain in that kind of animated film. What can I say? My mind spreads out a little bit as the circle has shifted and it's going to spread out down towards the southeast.
Yeah, that's a big hard circle shift. Luckily for most of these teams, that area of the circle is very familiar We've seen a lot of circles end down there, so teams should be quite expectant of what they're going to need to do next to break into the circle. And you were talking about Mega Baby. Mega Baby to me sounds like a hardcore Japanese screamo band.
I'm really glad you said screamo band, but yeah, you are right. It does sound. There's actually there's I think a Japanese female group called
something
baby metal, baby metal
baby
or something
metal,
like that.
baby metal,
baby metal.
That's what it is. As Mega Baby trying to show his baby metal skills right now, taking some shots, almost getting a knock, a nice grenade, but he's definitely caught in a 1v4 and he feels the pressure. He's trying to shift around, find any sort of angles that he could stay safe from all the grenades raining in. And the zone is further away. He's making territory, he's making grounds, but he's further away from the circle. And DeVito from long range will catch him out.
Yeah, I thought that was overall a really solid effort by Mega Baby to disengage in the right way without running away scared, to slow down Greek army so that a possible third party came through. But great play by DeVito to maybe plan and recognize where Mega Baby was going to go, and a kill and elimination came through. So Greek army will now have to move back away from the warehouses of boot camp. Eastern Stars on the south side of the circle, on top of the hill, overlooking Glorious compound, overlooking so many positions inside the circle. This could be a back-to-back Eastern Stars chicken dinner, depending on where this next circle goes.
This next circle, I want to see the next circle shift down to the southwest where the compounds are. That always makes things pretty fun and exciting to watch, as Bravis controlling this hill so well. They came here very early, picked one out from Mega Power. You called it out, like Mega Power kind of dropped the ball there. They allowed Bravis to take his position, because this should be Mega Power's spot, especially since they loot boot camp. But Bravis being rewarded very well here. And Greek army, I know you're snaking in the grass, but come on, it's not like you're invisible. As the circle hard shifts way to the east, and you can see immediately Morphy Boy backs up, knows he's got to heal up. Oh, he's only got bandages too. Maybe he's going to need to take a few more shots, put out some suppression before the rest of the team has to rotate towards the east.
Yeah, and I don't really mind this. You touched upon it in the past, right? Just be that suppressing player, that sacrificial lamb per se. However, what are the rest of the team do? Are you pushing into the circle, or are you taking a fight? Why is there no real clear direction from Bravis in this moment? Time's ticking. The blue zone's about to close in, and if you don't get shifted, if you don't get focusing on the edge of the circle, you're gonna get blown up.
Maybe they already see a spot in the next circle that they want, and they see it's clear. So all four players are just holding their positions down, trying to put out that pressure, similar to how Morphy Boy is doing onto the Greek army side. And you see this right now. Oh, Morphy Boy couldn't get the first aid off. That is quite terrible right there. But otherwise, Morphy Boy was keeping back an entire team all by himself. So that's that quote-unquote sacrificial player. Most of the times, they don't even have to go down themselves. They just hang back a bit longer to really delay some teams.
Lore committed to the compound, and they low-key pay the price. La Familia wasted. Leave his last player up for his side. I called that this could be a back-to-back Eastern Stars chicken dinner, and they had all the information, they had all the awareness, and that allowed them to shift over the road into the circle and have another dominating position under their control. 7-Up go down as well. 5 teams left up, followed by Bravis.
Ooh, Eastern Stars looking spicy here with that new circle shift. It shifts down to them on the south side, and Eastern Stars still have 4 players up. Where is the 4th player? I see 3 right there on the mini-map.
I think on the very northeast outside the circle. Quite, not massively far away, but obviously far enough that... Oh, no, it's actually... Sorry.
Oh, there it is, on the south.
Yeah,
he came in from the blue zone. I think they were setting up a potential med strap, but seeing the new circle, they're like, hey, we actually don't need to right now. And there's a good chance they could win, as Golden has been quite on fire during the Sandhawk match, and they're moving together really nicely. I like the way they're formating. I like the way they're pushing into the Lemnis Gate team. But I don't think they fully know they're there until just now as Mauricio goes down. They need to get some trades going in. Fire those shots. Faria, just take the shots. One player does go down. Second one goes down for Lemnis Gate. Lemnis Gate should get eliminated here. A clean finish. Well, not entirely clean, as Golden did lose one member.
Yeah, I don't hold up massively against Golden, but I definitely see where your criticism came from for sure. It also allows Eastern Stars to react in the right way. Hearing those shots, they're going to push in towards the direction of Golden Esports. Not as a full squad, more importantly, because they do know they need to somewhat cover their backs. Louis suffers the hands of the blue zone. Papa Blue, and words of Mustache Dave, is going to be able to strike as Faria left on his own. A little bit of damage. Tickles through. Athos now hanging on towards the other side of the rock, is inside the buggy. Once again, the Chinese meta are trying to bait out the players. I don't think that's going to work when it's just one player left up. He's going to try and heal, wait as long as possible. However, he goes down. Chief, I didn't realize he was still alive. Apologies. I'm going to go for the revive.
Going for the revive, but does he have enough time to get it off? No, he does not, as Eastern Stars throw some very nice grenades, and the Eastern Stars with the back-to-back here. It's a 4v2 situation. It's Eastern Stars versus Game Lord.
And just like that, as quick as you say it, Kapahala and his Warlord teammates strike with a back-to-back. Teobesk, my friends. Teobesk.
Yeah, and just resoundingly better than Game Lord, right? Oh, I mean, with the ways the circle shifted, Game Lord actually had a lot to work with to fight their way in. We saw that huge split they had on the far northern side, and they had to force themselves to adapt after losing one player early. I would have to say it was somewhat of a mistake on their part, but they managed to adapt and work into the rest of the game, and to get a second place finish on Sandhawk, that's really good.
Oh yeah, and to be fair, it was similar to the second game as well, where they had to kind of fight their way in, and obviously they picked up a hell of a lot of eliminations in the second game. This time around, it was just a little bit more calculated, a little bit sneakier, which isn't a bad thing, and it was rewarded. Once again, yeah, okay, you could put the circle look massively in a way of helping Eastern Stars, but every single shift after phase 4, they were reacting effectively. Every single moment, every single opportunity to continue to stay in control of the game of the circles, they took. Simple as that. And it was a deserved chicken dinner off the back of it. I am very impressed as well with Golden Esports. I loved how they played that game.
Yeah, that was probably one of the better games out of Golden as far as what we got to see on camera, right? They were aggressive. They pushed together as a team. And even when they did lose that one player, I got to kind of agree with you. That push, that check over that hillside, to just only lose one player is not that bad at all. It was a 4v3 situation where all three players of the enemy team were just camping and waiting, right? So the fact that they only managed to take one, I would say that's a pretty good fight right there. 3 elimination points for just one player loss towards the late game, where you're getting those placement points as well for eliminating team. That's pretty good.
Cash it in, away you go. Or we're going to cash it into a break. Highlights are going to be on your screen afterwards. We'll have the match rankings and the final game of the day. Do not go anywhere. The analogy, time flies when you're having fun, honestly fits into today's games because we're 3 games in, 1 more to go, and we're having a blast. I think we can safely say, Zute.
Oh yeah, definitely a blast. I think every day has been a different type of gem or treat as far as, the matches go. We've seen like some really crazy circles. We've seen teams, not do well, suddenly start showing up. We've seen we've seen very dominant teams continue to continuously be dominant. So it's like a little bit of everything you can ask for throughout the duration of this entire tournament.
Yeah, can't argue with it. Let's have a look at the match rankings of this 3rd game. And no, it's not deja vu. It's the side of Eastern Stars just spraying Terminat all over the rest of the lobby. Back-to-back chicken dinner. 23 points in this 3rd game. It's what you like to see.
Yeah, and Golden Esports coming in big on that Sandhawk match. Looking like almost a different team. I think they kind of realized, hey, on Sandhawk, we just play together as a team and play a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
That's what's going to, get them through to the finish line, and finishing off with 19 points. That's really good as well. And Game Lord, another big finish with 17 points on their side.
Yeah, in the first 3 games, just to kind of tell you how close it's been between Romania and France. France, 58 points in 3 games. Romania, 52. So when you kind of go back to the overall standings, when, a 73-point gap between France and Romania, unfortunately, very, very slightly unfortunately for Romania, they're just not able to close the gap. And that's why I have asked and will continue to ask, will we see hot drops happen on towards not only Game Lord, but of course Kazmak in the final 2 games tomorrow. It's final 2 days, should I say, tomorrow and Saturday. I know for a fact that Eastern Stars aren't that kind of team to hot drop. They're very much kind of a respectful side, but I would argue you want to win, you got to do what it takes within the rules to win.
And Lemnisky and Greek Army, looking further down the leader or the match rankings, they had another good game. A very good game 1, a very, lackluster game 2, but now they're bringing it back in game number 3, and Glor and 7-Up as well. Both teams getting 8 points for a total of 16 to be added to their community rankings.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see that from the Czech Republic / Slovakia communities, especially to see both teams up there. Greece, they're the highest scoring region so far in today's game. 72 points between the 2 teams in the first 3 games. That is absolutely nothing to be sniffed at. I think that's an average of about 16 points per game per team. You can't go wrong with that. So pretty much a chicken dinner, give or take. I think so.
Yeah, you know what it is, Wise?
Yeah. That's at least a chicken dinner per game for each team.
Okay, that's really good, actually.
I think.
Yeah, teams that have been struggling a little bit start to do better overall consistently throughout the day.
Yeah.
Number 1, of course, they're improving, right? They're figuring out their mistakes. They're adjusting to whatever their weaknesses are, and just getting a little bit better day by day. I mean, we're like 3 weeks in. We're so many days into this tournament. It's not too surprising to see them start to do better, but I will have to admit, we do not have the likes of Chasmak, Big, and 4 Romanian men in the lobby, right? That's 3 gigantic teams not in the lobby, soaking up the points, eliminating teams. I mean, if you look at the game we just had, and game number 2, Eastern Stars and Game Lord, right? The two of the top dogs in here, they had 2 really good back-to-back games. Just imagine if we had Big, 4 Romanian men, and Chasmak in here as well. It would not be as easy for some of these other teams to be doing as well as they are, and that's just how it is, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's not taking away anything from them in today's games, but it is a valid context to provide in the overall scope of this tournament without a shadow of a doubt. I think, unfortunately, and I say this not in any form of happiness, I think we have to settle ourselves to the fact that Italy just aren't capable of fighting for the top 3. We haven't seen enough from them over the past 2 to 3 days. They hung on for quite a while, and they deserve a lot of props for that. Fortunately, they drowned a little bit, and they haven't been able to swim back up to waters.
Yeah. All I gotta say is, Mamma Mia, what happened, right? To the side of the Italians. Well, we're going into game number 4. Maybe they could spin it back around here and take that momentum in the last couple of days. But we'll see how it goes, as the playing path, it is a little bit diagonal, but not the best diagonal. And it's starting from the very southern side, stretching up a little bit to the middle of the map towards the west.
You like pineapple on pizza?
I sure damn do like pineapple on pizza.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, but I think all the Italians watching are just probably, you know, just kind of, hey, Zute, what are you doing? How dare you?
You know what? With the performance they've been having, I'm gonna throw a couple more pineapples on that pizza, just to you know, rub it in a little bit. Like, come on. I will.
Maybe that's what they're missing. Maybe they should be putting pineapples on their pizza. They might be performing well. No, we joke. But yeah, of course, this playing path, it is not really leading to any craziness right now in terms of hot drops or any kind of massive clashes. Once again, we see Lemniscate go to Pachinki. We were obviously going to see Mega Power go to Novo, considering the playing path. The only risk is potentially Greek Army and Golden Esports a little bit, but no, nothing crazy off the bat.
Yeah, we see Greek Army do this split quite often, where they might have one player across the bridge to start with. But I think Golden typically has a good enough playing path where they're further into like Fairy Pier Primorsk area for their starting loot. So this time around, it does look like this player from Greek Army is a little bit caught out. And he realizes that. He's making a run for it. He's looking for a vehicle away from where he saw the golden players drop, just to make sure he could secure something and stay alive.
But unfortunately for him, one of the bravest players also dropped in that area and picked up a vehicle first, and he's looting that compound, where he's just finished looting that compound by the coastal line. So yeah, that makes it quite tricky for Insania at the start of this game. Respect, I look at their rotation potential as very, very good if they utilize the northern side of the river. Wrap around the north of Yasnaya and come in and end up around that kind of northeastern side of the map of the circle. Because common sense tells you, southern playing path, there's going to be a higher cluster of teams around that south and central parts of this phase 1.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very good prediction to make. And Respect right here, rocking 2 tricycles, both with the Halloween pumpkin skin.
Okay.
That's quite cute, I had to say. Not the best vehicles to have, though. Not the best vehicles to have full. In this tournament, tricycle definitely one of the worst vehicles you could rock. I would say I'd rather. Yeah, no, there's no other vehicle worse than that. Like, just outright, I would take anything else over. Not even
the minivan.
The minivan, like the bus on Miramar.
Yeah, like the bus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take the bus over the tricycle, for sure. I'd even maybe venture to say I'd take a glider over the tricycle if I knew how to use the glider. I take the glider over any car, to be fair. No? Okay, but you don't play competitive, so whoa.
Okay. Firstly, the disrespect, which I absolutely love. Secondly,
sorry, the disrespect came from the fact that I was already throwing pineapples on pizza, right? So,
yeah, fair enough. But how do you know I don't play competitive? How do you know I don't play competitive?
Oh, really?
I played scrims once Or
Once,
twice.
really? Okay.
I even played scrims with Mihi from Big a couple of times. And I got a kill.
Okay.
You know?
I'll DM Mihi on a scale of 1 to 10. How good was Imperia?
Actually, you actually should please genuinely do that, because I'd be curious on his thoughts of that. But you know, I can confirm I'm not a competitive player. That's why I always have massive respect for you and anyone else who either has or does play competitive, because you're dead right. You like with the glider, it's quite hard, and just in general, like getting your chops out in competitive and being successful it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
I wouldn't say I was successful. I venture to say I was semi-successful, right?
Bruh. Sorry, but how many global events have you played in?
Yeah, but we flopped every global event.
It's not the point. It's not the point. It's not the point.
I know. It was a lot of accomplishments to get to that stage to
Like,
begin with,
especially as a North American player. That's an automatic disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. North America, we're quite not there yet. But it's like, man,
I love the fact that you weren't insulted by that shade at like a whole region.
I mean, it is what it is. That's just factual. Yeah. Let's see ways to take this 1v2 real quick. Marcio right there. Kind of, I think, try and bait out some shots running up that way. And I like this little utility fight here. Neither player wants to give them a clear advantage by pushing over into the open first. But the question is, where's the teammates? Who's quicker to come here for help? You can obviously kind of tell both La Familia and Golden are telling their players, we're coming, just stall, don't push. It looks like Golden players are going to arrive here first. How long? Oh, and right on cue, La Familia from the other side. You love to see it.
I do think the La Familia players coming in to support Wasted are in a slightly better position to push, whereas I think the Golden Esports players are a little bit more isolated, a little bit more frozen in where they are. I appreciate that Chief is trying to push in on the side to get a bit of an angle. But the hills above do provide that kind of support in cover. Faria is on the very roof side, which is great elevation side to maybe suppress Clay, but of course does leave him a little bit more exposed.
I would agree with that. And with LMV kind of coming into the picture here, that's very interesting. Yeah, because the circle is not around this area. What is Goldie doing? Goldie taking some prone. Oh, Clay. Oh, that. See, in that situation. Oh,
no, he's going down. He's going down.
Zone. He's going to go down blue zone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Goldie. Get turned on. That is the definition of getting turned on. In that type of situation, I feel like you should go prone, right? Yep. The enemy player has no idea you're there. You're firing at quite a long range, like 200 meters plus. Go prone. Maybe you would have hit those shots there.
For anyone that doesn't know, why go prone? Okay. Bugged?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You wait. Say that one more again. One more time again. My audio got like all.
I asked you, for anyone that doesn't know, why go? Well, actually, I'll ask you a question after, because this fight, to be fair, is breaking out. Golden Esports have been able to catch out Zingy and La Familia, so that's going to make it a 3v3. And I highlighted that La Familia kind of had a little bit of an advantage in terms of using the high ground, but if you don't have the frontline support, it becomes a lot harder to really take advantage of it. So fair play to Golden Esports. That's a lovely peek coming out from Marcio. Clean up the kill. La Familia down to 2 players.
Oh, Clay just hit that.
Damn.
Perks was trying to do a nice cheeky drive-by off-angle flank, and Clay just like through the tree leaves at distance.
What are you doing, Japan? Okay, Japan has the support from Goldie, so that's okay.
That's a nice bait. Honestly, LMB is just looking for... Oh, Clay goes down to the play zone. I'm pretty sure La Familia is like, what is LMB doing? But as far as LMB goes, hey, They're picking up points. I think they got the revive too on the player that was. Yeah, they did get the revive onto the player that was knocked way deep in the blue zone. So a little bit different as far as how you want to secure your points. But if they clean this up in time, they could still play the rest of the Erangel match with no real big disadvantage.
I kind of okay. When I say I disagree, I suppose it's more of a generalized disagreement, because similar to what I highlighted when I think it was actually La Familia and Rexpect fighting in the blue of Sanhok, I'm genuinely forced to ask, like, what are you winning out of that, right? You're so far away from the circle. It just looks quite amateurish. What doesn't look amateurish was that juicy molly on towards Fella of Mega Power, and Eastern Stars continue to take control across today's games. The sole Romanian representatives, we low-key, like very, very low-key, not question them, but more the absence of 4 Romanian men and what they've been able to do over the last couple of days. We were maybe a little bit worried, but Eastern Stars very quickly squashed those worries.
Eastern Stars is showing that they're still here to play. Sure, it's not as big of a debut performance as they had, coming into their very first matches, but they're still a very strong team and not a team to be counted out or messed with. As the circle, very far towards the east side, La Familia, for all their troubles in fighting, they only make it out of there with 1 elimination point. And while we're seeing these teams rotate and migrate to their spots, what was the question that you wanted to ask? Something about proning?
Oh yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, why should you go prone if you have the opportunity to? And shoot, why should you shoot from prone position?
Yeah, simple. The amount of recoil is just almost non-existent when you go prone and spray with the M4. The caveat to that is you want to make sure if you do go prone and shoot at a target, there's no enemy teammates near them that can return fire, because you're a very easy target when you're prone. First, it's only your head peeking out, so it's like instant headshots onto you. And number 2, to go from the prone animation back up to a crouched or standing position to readjust yourself once you give away your position, it pretty much takes forever. And if someone's shooting at you, you're going to get knocked right where you are. And La Familia edging into the edge of zone and running into Golden, picking up 1 there. Nice quick peek right there. A back and forth peek. Clay goes down to low HP from that grenade, and he's going to back up, maybe get his teammate to support him from distance.
He needs that support. He needs that teamwork. He needs that suppression. However, Golden Esports know that they need to use the nades. Clay's able to back away, use the wall. Beautiful work, but it's not enough. Marcio confirms it with the nade. Evil Boy's left on his own, and the best thing he can do is just get back in the car and run away. The next circle popped up, by the way, on a side note, and it has shifted seemingly, okay, not that far away from them, but it is, of course, hard enough to enter this circle.
Yeah, a hard western shift right there. This area of the map, though, we've seen games end around here in this tournament at least 5 to 6 times. So I want to see which teams can kind of take advantage of the familiarity, especially playing against the same teams over and over. They should know what positions are occupied by which teams on the map. And LMB, they hear all those gunshots. They see it's La Familia in the kill feed, so they have a good idea that, hey, it's just maybe 1 member left. Look for a car on the western side.
And I don't mind that, because I believe they were already pretty much in the circle when so they technically know that we're fine to enter. So I've really, if anything, I think that's a massive show of understanding of your position and knowing where your limitations are, and clearly very easy for them to kind of push back out of the circle to look for some elimination points. Essentially cover their backs so they can focus on the inside later on in the game. The 100 trying to disengage away from Eastern Stars on towards the roof play. Octavian has a great position. I believe it's actually a 2-2 split by Eastern Stars. Very strong.
Yeah, Eastern Star splits always so beautiful to see. It makes so much sense too. You see how Octavian is not playing the compound right in front of him. He wants the team to crash that and huddle inside so then his team can surround and eliminate them. So he's purposely not playing the house furthest closest away to the enemy. And here we could actually maybe see it play out. So you see he gives away that first building compound to let Uncanny kind of move up into it. And then that could potentially give the rest of the Eastern Stars a good surrounding position. Or it might just be a disengagement for the Eastern Stars altogether here. But either way, Octavian stays safe and their options are open.
I think the biggest reason why Octavian kind of disengaged away from the roof is because he recognized that Uncanny has Doctor in the back. Plus, with the blue zone closing in, Uncanny are going to be a little bit forced to take that support away. You're saying, oh my god, because of that circle shift, right?
Yeah, that's a disgusting circle shift. I mean, that area of the zone, very fun, very entertaining. It's gonna be fun to watch, but that's a hard shift if I've ever seen one. Anyways, Eastern Stars, 30 seconds left on the clock. They know it's a hard shift away. They're not too worried about finding a priority zone. And I think they're mainly just spending time trying to get Octavian out of there, and they finally do manage to do it.
Oh, you spoke too soon! Oh, my lord, the Zute caster curse comes through once again. I got what they were going for, but I think without actually getting a knock onto a player of Uncanny, that was incredibly risky from Eastern Stars. And I would say, if anything, they were lucky to get away with just Octavian going down.
Yeah. Oh, man. I feel like they needed to be a little bit more aggressive pressure-wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I want to see maybe an off angle from the northern side. Just put out that pressure.
Boom.
And then go for that extract, right? So I was talking it up, you know, Octavian playing that position, you know, this and that. But I think ultimately Eastern Stars would agree with me. They just did not execute that properly.
It allows Uncanny a little bit more space to take their own disengagement and focus on trying to enter into the edge of the circle. On the northern side, 7 up, 2 players down with just 1 elimination point. Glor, their national teammates in this tournament, are right in front of them. Red Moon trying to hold on to Potato Hill.
The 100 on the southeast side right here. I want to see something out of the 100 this last game, right? At least 1 game per day that they're playing. I want to see them, you know, have a good one, because I think that does show a bit more improvement-wise, like consistency.
Yeah.
So they did not have too great of a day so far, like not extremely terrible either. But I want to see them have a spark of brightness here. Like we've seen Lemniscate and Greek Army, you know, have those, you know, just really outstanding moments today. I think the 100 could make do with one as well.
Fans goes down, and unfortunately the body advantage proves to be too much for 7 up as LMV continue to reign supreme on that western side. Again, part of, to be fair, what LMV have done pretty well from phase 2 onwards, which is just cover their backs, be on that edge, and allow the other teams to kind of do their own thing, and that has allowed LMV to have a big element of control their game so far. The next circle is about to pop up. Big cluster teams on the eastern side, of course, which is helping LMV stay in control. Lemniscate with a spread. The 100 with a spread. Greek Army, should I say, have a 3-1 split.
Mm-hmm. So many teams also on the eastern side of the map, because that last previous circle hard shifted to the west. And Red Moon with a beautiful grenade take out 1 member of floor. Versace getting a little bit too exposed running into the open. He's going to put out some suppressive shots, and ooh, he does go down. Versace starts backing up. The rest of Red Moon need to pressure this end, because Glor is going to push aggressive given the new circle. And yep, Marsha is going to push up. They should really regroup right now to save Versace. I'm not sure why the rest of the Red Moon team is taking so long to come back here to help.
Yeah, a big mistake. If you had a full squad up at that point, You keep one in the edge of the circle, or, yeah, just outside on Potato Hill, and you have the other 3 suppressing, pushing, and engaging onto Glore. The way they had that set up, in my eyes, was just too split. That's the way it can work in Potato Hill. Not a lot of teams really know how to hold that hillside down. In my eyes, if you want a big example, you look at Nova. You look at how Nova play Potato Hill. They play it 9 times out of 10 perfectly. This time around, Red Moon, they're not looking like Nova and Glore. They're able to at least stay alive as a 2-man team.
Glore getting third party from the backside right now by none other than LMB. And I think Red Moon is going to try and take advantage of that knock. Oh no! Red Moon down to 2 players now. This was an initial 4v2 and a little 180 flick. Masha does not get it done though. We're back onto the east side of the map. Lemon Skate with only 1 player up. They've had a pretty decent day today given their past performances. And Game Lord, I think they do manage to keep 3 alive. Zone is closing though, and they are not in zone. Very close to it, but not quite yet in zone.
It seems like the spread Lemniscae had might have been a little bit too thin. They were getting picked off. I will always say, though, this roadside, this laneway is incredibly difficult to massively control as LMV control and clear out Bravis once again on that western edge of the circle. Last player, Lemniscae, and a dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge behind that tree, hoping he can stay alive.
Next circle, about to shift on up. Most of the chaos has already subsided as Greek Army, though, holding a nice split formation, but instantly 2 of their players get knocked back to back. Maybe they could reset it. Oh no, Game Lord wants this position. I think Game Lord was the team that got the double knock opening. So Greek Army will lose one of their players outright. They will get the reset onto their 3rd at that compound, but Game Lord knows this, and Game Lord gets the zone actually, so Game Lord might have to focus on defense instead now.
Also, Eastern Stars went out. I don't know exactly how and to who, but they have been eliminated from this game. It's not really the strongest ending for the Romanian side, and with the amount of elimination points Game Lord have, once again, the French community will continue to increase that lead in the overall standings. Papa says bye-bye. Papa doesn't preach, but Papa doesn't get put down to the ground. What? And to 3, the circle has shifted in their favor. I think they're pretty well covered from the west. So they can really focus, and you can see with the arrows, massively focusing on the east.
Oh, Robs with a nice little spot right there onto Marcio. Oh, and he preemptively sprays the smoke, thinking a player will try and go for that revive, and he's well rewarded for it. Getting a lot of damage in. And they're not able to get that confirmation, though. LMV, meanwhile, they know they got the western side of the circle, so they're just going to play it slow here, make sure they clear out everything else before worrying about taking the end-game fights. But Greek Army has to push Game Lord. This is going to be a 3v3 situation with Greek Army pushing into the open. I don't think Greek Army will defeat the likes of Game Lord on this push, but if they do, then my god, Greek Army has improved tremendously, because this is going to be a very difficult push for them to make.
I wonder, have Game Lord, even though I kind of highlighted how they were covered for the west, have they given too much space to LMV? They've entered that western edge of the circle as a full squad. The job is far from done for them, because it's not really an easy position to play from. You called it, you said Greek Army needed to push Game Lord. Well, maybe they didn't push them early enough. Maybe the timing just not quite there. Now they're down to 2, and all eyes are on the side of Greek Army. The arms of Game Lord, another knock. Narvello, he doesn't miss those. And my lord, the last player, Greek Army, Malas does make it into the side of the hill. And now this is where the focus lost by Game Lord could go against them, as LMV are pushing in. YMCA, the last player up, does go down as well, followed by Greek Army. We're down to 2 teams.
LMB started off this match trying a third-party fight deep into the blue on circle number 2 to 3, but they're still making it to the end game. They got the likes of Game Lord to defeat Game Lord already with 12 of eliminations. Their gunfighting skills is on point right now. LMB does have the slight man advantage though, it being a 4v3, and nothing to scoff at either. LMB already have 8 eliminations to their name.
A big win. Would really be a bow on the box of a great day for LMV, the sole German representatives in today's games. Game Lord. They were the bridesmaids over the last 2 games. Will they become the bride in the final game of the day? This is very close. The body advantage is there, but I would argue the spreading was stronger for Game Lord. Look at the proactivity from Narvello up on the upper part of the hill. Goldie, I think, had done a great job, but there's no real support in a big way. No real distraction from the rest of the LMV side for the time being.
Yeah, LMV right now fighting quite literally an uphill battle. Need to find some sort of opening. They're going to use their util to maybe create some spacing. They might even try and save Goldie, but they really need to get him off first. Oh, Narvello with the jukes. Does get behind the rock, but finally, they isolate that player out with the smokes. They can press up just enough to get the clear angle, and now it's a 3v2 situation.
Don't go for the revive. Don't go for the revive. Okay, you went for the revive. It worked out. I've been proven wrong. And now we're down to just one. Rob's on his own. He's able to get one player of LMV. Looking for a second. Lucifigo finishes it off, and it's an LMV chicken dinner.
LMV coming in this time, representing, you know, the Germanic side. Like, what an amazing... Like, okay, so... we've been talking about Big a lot. Big's not in here. And then LMB steps it up on the very last game of the day, and they secure the chicken dinner. And I know it was a 4v3 to begin with, but I like the discipline that they played with. They played and recovered that. They didn't recover the player, but it changed into a 3v3, and they still played that 3v3 quite well. Isolating, you know, an angle, using the smokes bit by bit, open it up. And, of course, really great shots onto the person at the tower. I think that was more of a gun skill thing, but still, you know, gun skill does come into play, and sometimes you're just better than the other player.
Yeah, and I think for the first time in quite a while about Game Lord, I'm going to say they made a mistake in those moments. Because the opening knock onto Goldie was perfect from that player in the uphill. I forget exactly who it was. I think it was Narvello. However, that position was always going to have an expiry date, right? Yeah. Always. And getting the initial knock from that position was great. But what they needed to do afterwards was the 2 players in the sniper tower take the risk to move out of the sniper tower and go for the push on the other side. That would then have allowed Narvello to just more easily move down the hill onto the road where he got the initial knock and suppress LMV from both sides. The fact that they didn't do that allowed the opportunity for the counter knock and to continue the body advantage in the favor of LMV.
I see. I would have to go back and look at exactly how the map terrain is, but I get the idea. And in theory, with the layout of it, you know, sloping down and them having the high ground advantage and Narvello needing more of that, you know, team being pushed back. I think, I think that would be probably the most sound best play going back and looking at it. So, Imperium, I absolutely love that, you know, little breakdown you had there.
Thank you, man. Who knew I can do this kind of analysis stuff? What can I say? But yeah, look, and that's the thing. It's rare to say that about Game Lord, but you know, we aren't biased, right? We always call it as we see it, and if anything, to an extent, we can sometimes be harsher on the better teams because we know what they are capable of. But either way, we're capable of going to a bit of a quick break. Highlights are going to be on your screen, and afterwards, as usual, we're going to show you the match rankings of the final game. Don't go away. See you in a few. Okay, let's go! We are back! What a day in the PUBG Mobile Europe Community Tournament, Zute. 4 games, fantastically placed, and Game Lord. They're used to being the bride. Well, today, 3 games, they were the bridesmaids.
Oh yeah, Game Lord had an absolutely stellar, consistent day, and that just goes to show when they don't have too many other big competition teams, in the lobby, they kind of just get their way with it. Now, it's not to say that they, got the chicken dinner, multiple times over and over, but they had really high finishes for all of the games.
Doing some real quick math.
How's the maths going? Well, while you do the maths,
wait, no,
I'll go over. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Game Lord, in the 4 games that they played today, they got 45 eliminations.
Oh,
alone.
Wow. 45 eliminations in 4 games. So more than an average of 10 eliminations per game.
Over 11.25 eliminations per game.
Okay. All right. Those are
some quick maths for you.
Those are some juicy stats right there. The match rankings also on your screen. Pretty juicy in of itself. Greek Army, hello. Good to see you there. Like, amazing. Love to see it. Game Lord LMV. LMV stepping up, on the Germanic side. Not just letting Big take the spotlight. Actually, no. LMV have had their own share of spotlight too throughout the matches. Big has just been a little bit bigger, for the lack of a better term. But LMV, taking the show, really playing it well in that very last match for today.
And to kind of go a little bit back to how the team looked and how fractured you could clearly see after the failure to qualify for PMPL, and for them to bounce back from that, right? Yeah. I think it shows a massive strength in the players that remain and the players that have joined to improve, to synergize, to feel themselves out, to get into the flow. And I'm really happy. I've always been a fan of LMV. I've always been a fan of the players. Massive love to Perks and Japan specifically as well. And yeah, this was a deserved win. And, what a difference a circle makes as well, because in phase 1 I was super critical of the fact that they were hanging around and looking for this fight. It's like, phase 2 pops up, they fight a situation, they disengage, and then they're able to control. And a circle change, it makes a world of difference.
Oh yeah, the circles are the name of the game, pretty much. Those circle shifts are. Well, I mean, that's why I think a lot of people like PUBG Mobile too, because of that RNG circle factor, right? Otherwise, you would play something else with like less controlled factors that are not out of your control. But before we talk anymore, like, I want to take a look at Golden Esports too. I think they had they had a good Sandhawk game, and then they finished off their 4th match, the final one of Erangel, pretty decently strong as well. So Golden Esports. A little bit of a nod of my head towards their direction.
Yeah, they got 30 points in 2 games, and then 5 points in game 2 and 2 points in game 1, so 37 across the day. I would argue, again, what you mentioned about not having as many bigger teams per se, it helps them. That doesn't take away from the positivity in the final 2 games, and it was a deserving run for sure. So yeah, a positive level of finish for Golden Esports in the Portuguese community. Give you Zute and play what you want with a couple of stats to end out the day. France, 83 points in total for today. Greece, 88 points.
Wait. Okay. France with 83, but that's one team.
Yes.
With 83. Just so the viewers are 83 points from one team. So that's like a 20 point plus average. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Continue.
Greece, 88 points with 2 teams, which is still very impressive, especially compared to how they were looking at the start of the tournament. Romania, we're in 2nd. With 1 representative in today's games, 60. So France has increased their lead by 23 points after today's games.
So we're nearing that 100-point gap once again.
Yep.
very close
Yeah.
to it. So, man, oh man, Game Lord,
Like,
just
yep,
Game Lord, man,
yep.
too good,
Just Game Lord.
too good.
Just Game
Too
Lord.
good.
And to end as well, to add Germany into the mix a little bit, LMV, once again, sole representatives, 57 points in today's games. So that last game from LMV was massively important to the German community's ability to stay within the top 3. Because now they ended the day with only 3 less points than Romania compared to before this, it was 21. You know? So that, honestly, like, big props to LMV for that, carrying the weight of Germany on the shoulders today. Ended up big. Ended up really big, pun intended as well.
Yeah, so speaking about ending up really big, big will come into the mix of things tomorrow. Yep. So that does it for today's show. I hope you guys enjoy the matches today, but we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.